And we are proud to welcome in for the first time to the show, ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner, Republican from Wisconsin, former chair of the Judiciary Committee, where he's now a member. And he is the chair of the Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security Oversight Committee. Congressman, welcome in, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Well, it's my pleasure. You're the man, as everybody by now knows, who introduced the PATRIOT Act back in 2001 on the floor of the House, and you're one of the few voices out there that are raising concerns and objections contrary to the opinions of the FBI Director, Congressman King, and most others.
This goes far beyond what the PATRIOT Act authorized. The business records part of the PATRIOT Act, which we call Section 215, was very limited and very specific. And the business records could only have been seized when there was an authorized target of a terrorist investigation who was a foreigner and not a United States citizen. Now, if the foreigner called up a U.S. citizen, then, of course, that would be relevant to the seizure of those phone bills and those business records. But ordinary U.S. citizens, the 99.999% of us, would not have had the legal authority to seize those records, and yet they went ahead and did it anyhow.
Well, how did they come to this point? The president made a statement about a week ago that every member of Congress knew about this. Every member of Congress was briefed, which never sounded right in the first place. Usually, if I'm correct, sir, they usually brief the chairman of various committees or maybe intelligence committee members. So was every member briefed? Were you briefed?
No, I wasn't briefed. There wasn't every member briefing that occurred on Monday. I couldn't go to it because my plane was late in coming in. But I have asked the Deputy Attorney General to come into my office, not to talk about how this program works, but express my concerns about the lack of legal authority that the Justice Department and the NSA have. And Senate Appropriations Committee Chairwoman Barbara Mikulski, whom I rarely agree with, says fully briefed doesn't mean we know what's going on. So even being fully briefed would not let every member of Congress know what's going on. Had I known about this, I would have blown the whistle and said, hey, you're on thin ice here legally, and you ought to stop it.
Well, let me ask you about that, sir. There's a debate going on as to what should happen to Edward Snowden, the man who did reveal this. I hate to say blow the whistle because that makes him sound like a hero, but what do you think? I mean, do you believe that he is a traitor? Do you believe he should be extradited and tried as a felon?
I believe he should be extradited and tried for unlawfully revealing classified information. Getting a treason rap on anybody is really, really tough, and we haven't had many of those occur in the history of this country because it does require two witnesses in the Constitution.
If you were going to reveal anything, had you known about this and you wanted to reveal it, would you not have had to gone through channels to request permission to reveal classified information?
I certainly would have, and I am not the type of person who would use the parliamentary immunity to go down to the floor and reveal classified information, which was what was done in the Pentagon Papers case.
Right. All right, so where are we? One interesting story that's come out now, Investors Business Daily, talks about the fact that the whole spying thing, the NSA, the PRISM, whatever you want to talk about, since October of 2011, mosques have been off limits to FBI agents. No more surveillance, no undercover sting operations without high-level approval from a special oversight body at the Justice Department. And it would seem that if I'm going to be, surveilled, if you will, then why not where we know terrorist plots in the past have been hatched?
Well, it certainly sets Islamic places of worship in a level that is different from places of worship of any other religious denomination, whether it be Christian or Jewish or Hindu or whatever. And that shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't say that a certain denomination's place of worship is a sanctuary and consequently the FBI or law enforcement cannot try to find out what is going on in order to protect everybody, including members of that house of worship who might not be a part of this.
I mean, boy, if the American public was aware of that, Congressman, I got to think they'd be outraged because, as you point out, treating one religion differently than the others, but treating the one religion, not all people, we know that, nobody's saying that, but where even the one of the bombers at the Boston Marathon made comments at a mosque reportedly that would have maybe raised a red flag to the FBI. So it just seems counterproductive at the very least.
Well, the First Amendment is very clear that the government can't choose between a, quote, good religion, unquote, and a, quote, bad religion, unquote. The fact of the matter remains is that if terrorist acts or any type of crime or felony is being hatched up, there should not be kind of a safe house that's called a place of worship. And I don't care what religion or what denomination is maintaining such a safe house. That should be wrong. And I think that every religion, does have a prohibition against murdering other people.
So the FBI should be allowed back and the Muslim community should be treated like any other?
Yes, no better and no worse.
All right, now, Congressman, we're talking to Congressman Sensenbrenner. Just a couple more questions, sir. You've been generous with your time. You did call the Obama administration's assurances that nobody's listened to your phone calls and don't worry and there's nothing to worry about, a bunch of bunk. Do you stick by that? And where do you, sir, go from here in your efforts to remedy this?
Well, I stick by that. It is a bunch of bunk. Again, Section 215 was narrowly drafted so that only those phone records of people who were suspected of being involved in terrorists and who were not United States citizens would have their phone records taken. No more than that. Now, where we go from here is really twofold. One is we need to look at whether Section 215 needs to be amended and perhaps having a better showing of relevance to an authorized terrorist investigation. The second, and I think the more serious one, is to try to force this FISA court to follow the law that was passed by Congress, because the FISA orders requiring the phone companies and the internet companies to go far beyond what the PATRIOT Act required was simply a rubber stamping. And they have a history of rubber stamping, and nobody knows what the issues are. They just say, go ahead. And I think that they need to have themselves reined in on that. Their power is too much, and everything else that we have is that the federal courts are supposed to protect our constitutional rights. And I guess they do a better job at that when they don't meet in secret.
Now, you need congressional support for this, I would imagine. Do you have it even within your own party?
Not yet, but I think we're getting there, because more and more Republicans are telling me, thank you for standing up for this. I have the institutional memory. I was here on 9/11. I ran out of the Capitol when we were told that the plane that was crashed in Pennsylvania by the heroes that were on board was headed toward Washington, D.C. I consider myself a terrorist hawk, but I also consider myself one whose obligation is to balance the civil liberties and constitutional protections that have made America different with the need for security. A police state is completely secure. We never want that happen to here.
Congressman, I really appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you so much. I hope you'll come back, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Take care. Congressman Jim